In the beginning, there was hunger. Not the dramatic cinematic type, not the kind where violins play in the background. This one was quiet, routine, familiar. Tunde grew up in a one-room face me I face you apartment in Mushin, Lagos. The zinc roof leaked whenever rain fell hard enough, and Lagos rain always felt like it had something to prove. His mother would rush to shift their thin foam mattress away from the dripping corner, placing old paint buckets and cracked plastic bowls beneath the leaks. At night, when generators hummed like distant bees and mosquitoes sang in their ears, Tunde would lie awake staring at the ceiling. He knew the rhythm of poverty too well. His father was a bus conductor, not the aggressive type that hung from moving down foes shouting Oshodi Oshodi, but the tired kind, the one whose voice cracked by noon. His daily earnings depended on traffic, luck, and the mercy of Agberos. Some days he returned home with 1,500 naira, some days 800 naira, some days nothing. His mother fried akara by the roadside at 5 a.m. before sunrise, her hands permanently smelling of ground beans and hot oil. During good weeks, she could afford to add pap for customers. During bad weeks, she sold on credit. There were nights when dinner was garri and sugar. On worse nights, it was just garri and water. But Tunde had something that did not match his environment. He had brilliance. From primary 1, it was obvious. While other children struggled with phonics, he was already reading full passages aloud. His teachers noticed how quickly he absorbed information. In primary 3, he corrected the teacher's arithmetic mistake on the board, respectfully but confidently. In primary 6, he came first in the entire local government common entrance exam. The headmaster called his parents to school. His father wore his only ironed shirt. His mother wore a church wrapper. "Your son is exceptional," the headmaster had said. "Don't let poverty waste him." That sentence became a prophecy and a burden. Secondary school was harder. The fees were higher. There were times he was sent home for non-payment. He would stand outside the school gate, watching his classmates through fence, shame burning his throat. Yet, every time he returned, he topped the class. GSS 1, first position. GSS 2, first position. GSS 3, distinction in junior WAEC. By SSS 1, his reputation preceded him. Teachers used the script as examples. Students borrowed his notes. He studied under street lights during power outages, sometimes with the smell of sewage in the air. When others slept, he revised. It was in SS1 that he met Amara. Amara transferred from a private school after her father's business declined. She was soft-spoken, with careful eyes and neatly braided hair. Unlike many girls in school, she didn't mock Tunde's worn shoes or his overused backpack. They started as study partners. She struggled with further mathematics. He explained patiently. He struggled with literature analysis. She helped him interpret themes and metaphors. Laugh crept in quietly. By SSS2, they were inseparable. Not the dramatic always kissing type. They were the kind that shared dreams in whispers behind the classroom block. "I will leave this country one day," Tunde once told her. "And you will come back for me," she said, smiling. "I won't just come back, I will marry you." They sealed it with teenage certainty, the kind that feels eternal. SSS3 came with pressure. WAEC, NECO, JAMB. Tunde studied like his life depended on it, because it did. When the results came out, the entire neighborhood gathered around the cyber cafe printout. 9 A's. Mathematics A1. Further mathematics A1. Physics A1. Chemistry A1. Biology A1. English language A1. Economics A1. Government A1. Civic education A1. 9. The first in the school's history. Newspapers carried a small column about him. Bus conductor's son scored 9 A was in WAEC. Universities noticed, NGOs noticed. Then the email came. A full scholarship to study engineering in the United States. Tuition, accommodation, feeding, books. His mother cried that night. His father did not cry, but they left the room to check something outside for too long. The airport's goodbye was heavy. Amara held his hand tightly. 4 years, she said. 4 years, he promised, and I'll build a life for us. America was cold. Not just the weather, everything. The culture, the silence, the way people minded their business. But Tunde adjusted. He worked twice as hard as everyone else. He refused to waste the opportunity. He graduated top of his class again. He secured a high-paying job with a tech firm in Houston. For the first time in his life, he saw money that didn't disappear immediately. He sent money home to his parents. Then he started sending larger sums to Amara. Let's buy land, he told her during one of their long video calls. For our house. She sounded excited. She sent pictures of plots. He transferred dollars, large ones. Months passed. He sent more. For foundation. More money. For blocks. More. For roofing. More. Sometimes she sent blurry pictures of sand heaps and the half-dug foundation. He believed her. Why wouldn't he? He was building their future. But somewhere in Lagos, something had shifted. Loneliness had crept into Amara's heart, or maybe it was temptation, or maybe it was something deeper. Insecurity, impatience, the thrill of attention. She met Kelechi at a friend's birthday party. He drove a flashy Lexus. He wore expensive perfume and laughed loudly. He was present. He was tangible. It wasn't a pixelated face on a phone screen 6 hours behind in time. At first, it was harmless conversation, then regular outings, then secrets. The money Tunde sent started disappearing into designer bags, weekend trips to Abuja, expensive restaurants. The construction updates became staged photos. Sometimes she borrowed pictures from other building sites. Tunde never doubted. He was too busy working 60-hour weeks, chasing promotions, sending more money. Back in Nigeria, Amara had begun introducing Kelechi to friends. Just a friend, she would say. But she had stopped mentioning Tunde as often. Meanwhile, in Houston, Tunde had just received news of another promotion, a 6-figure salary now secured. That night, he calculated how much more he could send. This year, he told her excitedly over the phone, "We'll finish the house completely. Next day, I'm coming home to marry you." There was a pause on the other end, a small, almost unnoticeable hesitation. "Of course," she said, "I can't wait." But across the room, her phone lit up with a message from Kelechi, "Miss you already." And somewhere in Lagos, on an empty plot of land that had never been truly paid for, weeds continued to grow tall. In Houston, Tunde's life was beginning to look like the kind of story motivational speakers liked to use. He had moved out of a small shared apartment into a one-bedroom high-rise overlooking the city. The floor-to-ceiling windows showed glittering highways at night. Sometimes he stood there after work, hands in his pocket, thinking of Mushi. The boy who studied under street lights now worked in a building where the lights never went out. His colleagues admired him. "You are one of the sharpest engineers on this team," his manager once said during a performance review. He sent that message to Amara. She replied with heart emojis. Every Sunday they had a routine. Video call, 2 hours minimum. He would prop his phone against his laptop, cooking pasta while she told him about Lagos traffic, church drama, fuel scarcity, her friends. He loved those normal details. They made the distance survivable. "What about the house?" he would ask gently every few weeks. "Oh, they're molding blocks now," she would say. "The workers are slow, sharp, but progressing." She sometimes sent short videos, a half-cleared land, some stacked cement blocks, men mixing sand. The videos were always brief, slightly shaky. He never questioned why the background looked different each time. Trust can be blinding. But in Lagos, reality had become something else entirely. Amara had not bought the land outright. She had only paid a small deposit months ago, enough to take pictures and claim ownership. The agent had since resold it when she failed to complete payment. The foundation pictures she sent were from a construction site 3 streets away from her aunt's house. The money, it went in pieces. First, she justified it to herself. I deserve small enjoyment, it's earning in dollars. Then she upgraded her phone, then her wardrobe. Then came the weekend trip to Lekki with Kelechi. Kelechi was different from Tunde. Tunde spoke about investments, long-term plans, structural design, the future. Kelechi spoke about vibes. Life is short, baby, he would say, adjusting his designer sunglasses. Enjoy now. He didn't ask her to account for money. He didn't ask her for building updates. He didn't speak in 5-year plans. He was immediate gratification. And Amara, once the quiet girl who solved literature questions under a mango tree, found herself craving their attention. At first, she hid it well. She kept Tunde's contact saved as my husband. She still prayed with him over the phone sometimes, but gradually small shifts began. She no longer picked calls immediately. She sometimes claimed network issues. She complained about feeling lonely. You don't understand, she once said, voice trembling slightly. You're building your life there. I'm just here, waiting. Tunde felt guilt wrap around him. I'm doing this for us, he said. Everything I'm doing is for us. And he meant it. Meanwhile, Tunde has started something new. He opened a joint savings account in Nigeria in Amara's name, specifically for construction funds. He transferred larger sums directly there to avoid delay. He even created an Excel sheet tracking expenses she reported. Land, 4.5 million naira. Foundation, 2.3 million naira. Blocks, 1.2 million naira. Labor, 800,000. He converted everything to dollars in neat column. He was proud of how organized he was. He did not know that most of these figures were invented. Amara had learned how to sound convincing. She researched actual building costs to make her lies realistic. Sometimes, after sending him fake updates, she would sit alone in the room staring at the ceiling. Guilt would creep in quietly, but then her phone would buzz. Kelechi, pull up tonight, and guilt would shrink. Months passed. Tunde received the bonus at work, performance-based. It was more money than his father earned in 3 years combined. He didn't celebrate. He wired 70% of it to Amara. This should complete the roofing and maybe interior plastering, he said excitedly. I want tiles imported. Quality ones. Don't manage anything. She swallowed. Okay, she whispered. That night, she transferred part of the money to Kelechi for a business opportunity he claimed would triple returns. Another part went into furnishing a new apartment she quietly rented in Lekki, closer to Kelechi. She told Tunde she moved because her old area was too noisy. He apologized for not being there to help. In Austin, Tunde had started browsing engagement rings online. Nothing flashy, something elegant. He imagined proposing at the airport when he finally returned. He pictured her shock, her tears, the way Lagos humidity would eat him when he stepped off the plane. He even renewed his passport early to avoid delay. But he decided not to tell her he was planning a visit. He wanted it to be a surprise next year. Plenty of time. Back in Lagos, something else was quietly happening. Kelechi had started asking subtle questions. This your American guy, is still sending money? She hesitated before answering. Yes. Kelechi smirked. You are lucky, oh. She didn't like the tone. One evening, while scrolling through Tunde's old messages, paragraphs filled with love, long-term plans, prayer points, something tightened in her chest. He had never once disrespected her, never once cheated, never once failed to send money when she asked. He trusted her completely. That kind of trust is heavy. But instead of confessing, she doubled down. She began reducing call frequency, claimed she was busy supervising workers. Sometimes she muted his calls when she was with Kelechi. She became good at switching voices, soft and loyal for Tunde, playful and reckless for Kelechi. And Tunde, he remained unaware, still planning, still laughing, still building a house that did not exist. One Sunday night, after their usual call, Tunde stood by his window again. "I can't wait to come home," he whispered to himself. In Lagos, at that exact moment, Amara was sitting in the passenger seat of Kelechi's car, laughing at something he said, her head tilted back. Her phone buzzed in her bag. "Tunde, good night, my future wife." She stared at the notification for a long second, then locked her screen. The house remained invisible. The money continued flowing. The lie continued growing. And somewhere between Austin and Lagos, love was slowly becoming something else. Kelechi was not in love, he was observant and patient. At first, he had played the role effortlessly, charming, attentive, spontaneous. He knew how to study women the way Tunde studied textbooks. He noticed that Amara liked to feel chosen, so he chose her loudly. He posted her on his Snapchat close friends. He bought her small but visible gifts. He called her my woman in public. He made her feel immediate. But what truly hooked her wasn't the Lexus or the weekend outings. It was how he made her feel when they were alone. With Tunde, everything had always been emotional depth, future planning, gentle reassurance. With Kelechi, everything was heat, intensity, physical closeness that made her forget logic. He touched her like she was the only thing that existed in that moment. He was confident, assertive, present. There were no time zones, no buffering screens, no delayed responses. After nights with him, she felt intoxicated, not just physically but psychologically, desired, needed, and slowly her guilt toward Tunde began losing its weight. She started telling herself a story. Tunde is my future. Kelechi is my present. But present can be dangerous. The first crack appeared subtly. One afternoon in Lekki, she was in Kelechi's apartment when his phone rang. He stepped into the bathroom to answer. She wasn't trying to eavesdrop, but she had enough. "Calm down," he said. "I told you I'll settle it next week." Pause. "No, I don't have it now. Funds are tight." Her heart shifted slightly. When he came out, she asked casually, "Who was that?" "Business stuff," he replied quickly. "You won't understand." She didn't push, but she began noticing more. He complained about money more often. He hinted about investment ideas. He once joked, "You and your American boyfriend are cashing out. Adopt me small." He laughed. She laughed too. But something about the way he looked at her lingered. Meanwhile, Tunde had just increased the monthly transfers again. "I want interior finishing done before December," he said excitedly during one call. "Let's aim for painting soon." Amara nodded while sitting on Kelechi's couch. "Yes, it's progressing," she lied smoothly. Later that night, Kelechi lay beside her, tracing lazy circles on her arm. "You trust that guy too much," he murmured. "What do you mean?" "He's abroad. You sure he's not doing his own thing there?" The seed was planted. Insecurity. Projection disguised as concern. She turned to face him. "Tunde isn't like that." Kelechi smirked faintly. Men are men. But the truth was simpler. Kelechi was starting to see her not as a partner but as access. Access to dollars. Access to stability. Access to a lifestyle upgrade. He began asking more specific questions. How much did he send this month? When next is he sending? He trusts you like that? At first, she brushed it off, but the physical connection between them kept clouding her judgment. Every time she started questioning him, he pulled her back into that intense closeness, the kind that blurred boundaries and made reasoning feel distant. And she loved that feeling. It made her feel alive. The second crack came at her. One evening, while scrolling through Instagram, she froze. A tagged photo. Kelechi at a club with another woman. His arms wrapped around her waist. Caption, "My day one." Her stomach dropped. She waited. He didn't mention it. When she confronted him days later, he laughed. Don't start drama. That's old friend. Your arm was around her waist. So? You know how pictures are. He leaned closer, lowered his voice, softened his tone. Why are you acting insecure? I'm here with you now, aren't I? And again, the physical closeness, the reassurance, the heat. Her anger dissolved faster than it should have, but something inside her shifted, a quiet awareness. Weeks passed. Kelechi's financial problem grew clearer. She overheard another argument call, louder this time. Tell them I'll pay next month. Silence. Then I said I will handle it. He slammed the phone down. She sat still. Everything okay? She asked carefully. He sighed dramatically, just small debt issue. Business slow. Then he looked at her differently, calculating. You know, if you invest something now, when the return comes, you will shock that your US guy. There it was, the intention rising to the surface. He wasn't stupid enough to demand directly, but he was positioning himself. She hesitated. The money Tunde sent is for building. Kelechi shrugged. And what if you multiply it? Use brain. Multiply. The same word he had used months ago. Suddenly, the past made sense. The business opportunity she funded before, no update. The supposed profits, none. Her chest tightened slightly. Yet that night, when he pulled her close, when he whispered promises about their own future, when he spoke about how he would never leave her physically the way Tunde had, her clarity blurred again. Because the sex was not just physical, it felt like validation, and she was addicted to feeling wanted. Back in Austin, Tunde was browsing flight tickets quietly, still unaware. Still saving screenshots of kitchen design to send her later. Still telling his colleagues proudly, my fiancé is handling our house project back home. He even began researching how to transfer a larger lump sum for final touches. In Lagos, Amara lay awake one night beside Kelechi while he slept. She stared at the ceiling. For the first time, doubt felt louder than desire. What if Kelechi was using her? What if Tunde found out? What if the house never materialized? But then, Kelechi shifted in his sleep, pulled her closer unconsciously, and that closeness still felt real. Maybe too real. She whispered to herself in the dark, I can manage both until things stabilize. But life rarely allows balance in deception. And somewhere beneath the surface, something was building. Not a house, a collapse. It started with nausea. At first, Amara blamed stress. The delayed periods, she told herself, were normal. Lagos heat, hormonal imbalance, anxiety. But when the second week passed, her hands began to tremble. She bought the test from a small pharmacy far from her area. She wore oversized sunglasses and paid in cash. The two lines appeared almost immediately. Positive. Her stomach felt hollow. She sat on the edge of the bed in her Lekki apartment, staring at the stick like it might change its mind. Pregnant. The withdrawal method Kelechi used failed. Pregnant not by the man who sent dollars every month, but by the man sleeping on her couch most nights. Her heart pounded. She called Kelechi, he didn't speak. She called again and again. He finally answered with irritation in his voice. What? I need to see you, it's urgent. When she told him, the room shifted. For a second, just a second, She saw panic flash across his face before he masked it. "Are you sure?" he asked. "Yes." Silence. Then he stood up and began pacing. "This is not the right time." Her chest tightened. "What do you mean?" "You know I'm trying to fix my business. You know things are tight. I didn't get pregnant alone." He stopped pacing. "Lower your voice." She stared at him. "What are we going to do?" He didn't hesitate long. "You can't skip it." The words landed cold. She swallowed. "What? You want to explain pregnancy to your American boyfriend?" The way he said it, sharp, practical, emotionless, made something inside her crack. "It's your child," she whispered. "And?" He replied bluntly. "You think I'm ready to start playing father?" That was the first time she truly saw him clearly. Not the charming version, not the intense lover, but the calculating survivor. He walked closer, softened his tone slightly, not out of compassion but strategy. "Listen, you are too smart to complicate your life like this. Handle it quietly, nobody needs to know." Handle it quietly, like it was a minor inconvenience. That night, she couldn't sleep. She thought of Tunde's voice. "We will build a family in that house." She thought of her younger self in SS1, promising forever under a mango tree. She thought of Kelechi's body heat beside her and how quickly it had turned cold when responsibility appeared. By morning, she made a decision. Not out of strength, not even out of loyalty, out of fear. Fear of exposure, fear of losing financial security, fear of judgment, fear of collapse. Kelechi sent her money for the procedure, though it was far less than he spent on nightlife in a week. He didn't accompany her, he claimed he had a meeting. The clinic was small and quiet. The nurse avoided eye contact. The doctor spoke clinically, detached. "Are you sure?" the doctor asked. Amara nodded. Her hands were cold. It was over in a blur of antiseptic smell and muted pain. When she stepped outside into the Lagos sun, the world looked the same, but she didn't feel the same. She called Kelechi. "It's done." "Good," he replied quickly. "Rest well." "Good." That word echoed. He didn't ask how she felt. He didn't ask if she was okay. He didn't come that night. For the first time since meeting him, she didn't crave touch. She felt empty instead, physically lighter, emotionally heavier. Days passed. He resumed normal behavior, jokes, invitations, casual affection. But something inside her had shifted permanently. The illusion had cracked. And yet she still wanted him. Because desire does not vanish just because truth appears. The physical pull remains strong. But now it was mixed with something darker, dependency. Meanwhile, in Houston, Tunde was excited about something else entirely. He had booked his tickets not for next year, for December. He planned to surprise her. He imagined landing in Lagos without telling her, showing up at the house unannounced, recording her reaction. He even bought the engagement ring. It sat in a small velvet box in his dresser. He practiced how he would kneel. He had no idea that thousands of miles away, the foundation he believed in was already fractured beyond repair. One evening, while recovering alone in her apartment, Amara opened her phone and saw Tunde's message. "I just sent another transfer for final finishing. I'm so proud of us." Her throat tightened. For the first time in months, she cried. Not loudly, quietly. Because she finally understood something. She was no longer just juggling two men. She was living two entirely different lives. And one of them was built on lies, blood, and silence. But Tunde still knew nothing. And December was approaching. Do you think Amara will survive Tunde's return? Watch out for part 2. And ensure to like, subscribe, and tap up the notification bell so you don't miss an upload. Thanks for watching and bye.